Hi, Diane.
Hello, how are you doing, David?
Doing well. How about you?
Not, just took the grandchildren home and things are looking a little quieter around here, but still good. Oh, I just have something to share. I just got reappointed and I raised my hand and said I would serve for another 2 years. So I'll have the paperwork here and I'll pass that in this week. I just got it Friday.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be able to have a future. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so far I saw Diane, Gloria, Sandy, Rich, Debbie, Mary Lou, Robin, and Doug. Nick, are you there? And Karen. Okay, well, it's 3 minutes after 2, so we probably should get started so we can stay on track. Welcome, everybody. I'm looking forward for the meeting. Did everyone get a chance and opportunity to review the June 13th meeting minutes? I know it went out a little late today.
Yes.
Is there anyone that did not get an opportunity? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Yep, motion to approve the revised minutes.
Thank you, Gloria. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Robin, thank you. The June meeting minutes are approved. Thank you. The next thing we have today is announcements and holiday closings. Emily, would you like to take that one?
The biggest announcement is our 30th anniversary celebration next week.
Yay.
Such a big, wonderful way to celebrate 30 years of a beautiful building. We have, I was hoping Nick would be on the call, but he was able to provide a tape player. I think we all remember what these guys are. Young folks do not know what this is, but if anyone is interested in listening to old Council on Aging or EAC meeting minutes, they're really interesting and they go back to 1981. So yeah, it's pretty, oh, here's Karen. Pretty great history that's been captured, and we're working with the library. Mary Lou and a couple of other volunteers are digitalizing the history of the senior center right now. So if, there was ever a flood or some kind of, you don't want to lose these, you want to digitalize them, and they will be as a result of this 30th anniversary celebration.
Is there anything else in announcements? I see September 5th, Labor Day is closed. Would that basically cover it?
That's it.
Okay, great. Next thing we have is the subcommittee reports, and I'd like to change it up just a little. I'd like to put up the senior center building subcommittee and kind of tie it in with the building update from the facility manager, because they kind of go hand in hand. So if you don't mind, we'll start with the activity subcommittee, and then we'll do the treasurer's report, and then we'll go into the building subcommittee report. So the activity subcommittee report, the EAC executives, Sandy, Gloria, Diane, and myself met with Emily on June 21st for a luncheon meeting. Emily was looking at that time for us to share what we were seeing as issues facing seniors and the caregivers that they rely on to live healthy and productive lives. Both Emily and the COA are looking to throw support to new programs for the coming year, July 2022 to June 2023. We all thought it very important that we select one program to focus on. The program that we could all agree on is important and timely is wellness calls to seniors. While COVID concerns ebb and flow, many seniors still remain housebound the majority of the time, and they have little contact with the outside world, lacking close friends or nearby family. This program was orchestrated, the wellness call, during the height of COVID by Emily and the office staff, using information gleaned when calls were in operation. We would like to restart the wellness calls as soon as we get a volunteer base in place. Initial contact would be by senior volunteers, though there was some suggestions that we could eventually utilize student volunteers in some capacity as we move forward. The COA has a database of many Bridgewater seniors. The plan would be to begin contacting seniors in the age of 80 plus. And as we continue, maybe focus on seniors age 70 to 80, which are the two neediest groups. We all agree that initiating the Wellness Call program could be a strong assist to our senior community. We would like to firm up and clarify schedules of calls, days of the calls, volunteers, and other logistics within the next several weeks. We'd certainly be interested in sharing everyone's thoughts to make this program even more effective. Is there anything anyone would like to bring up in regards to this program?
Do you have a format that you'll be using to talk with the seniors?
We don't now, but we definitely will have is that everyone is basically having the same conversation, at least initially to start out. I think that's a great
Right.
idea, Robin.
Yeah.
Any other questions or anything anyone would like to bring up in regard to it? Okay, great. The other thing I just want to bring up, beginning with the fall edition newsletter, we like to profile a senior in every edition. The senior we profile will be a volunteer, and the profile is going to include a photo of the senior, and we're going to share with the readers several interests of their hobbies, background, or work, or any topic that they want to discuss, and that would be of general interest. I think that the readers are going to definitely look forward to these monthly profiles. One senior that we could all agree on that would make perfect sense for the inaugural column is Evie DeLutis. She's an amazing volunteer, and she's amazing in so many ways. She just is always involved with so many volunteer things, committees and commissions and so forth throughout Bridgewater. I'm interviewing Evie and Gloria Moran later this month, and they'll probably be our first two profiles in the next coming newsletters. I would like, as we go forward, EAC activity subcommittee members maybe could do future interviews. And we also talked that possibly student volunteers could get involved. The monthly profile should be a great deal of fun, and it's going to be a common interest to everyone. Did anyone have any questions or anything that you'd like to bring up in regard to that? I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think, people that are reading the newsletter are going to look forward to their friends and neighbors being featured in the newsletter. And I think it's going to be kind of exciting. So I'm looking forward to being lucky enough to be involved with the first one. So it should be fun. Next thing we have is the treasurer's report. Gloria.
So I spoke with Emily earlier today, and because of the end of the fiscal year and everything going on, I'm going to acquiesce to her, and she has a few things she wants to share with us for this month, if that's all right with everyone.
Great, thank you.
Let's see. So a few items. Our account balances, we're going into a brand new fiscal year, July 1st, with very healthy balances. Our Howard Foundation grant has a balance of $8,482. Our COA revolving fund is in the red right now. However, we are to make a deposit probably this week or next. Our negative number is $156.95. The deposit, we'll bring that into the positive. I don't have that number, but we had today our first summer Monday morning stretch and strengthen class, and we had about 10 people. So if we're charging $5 per person, and they had a great time too, which is the best part, the revolving fund will go right back into the positive amount. The Needy Seniors Fund, it looks like there's no expenses, no donations. The miscellaneous donation account went from 37.6 to 38.3, and those expenses went towards Alice's Cafe, which is our memory cafe, the men's breakfast, and then there were some other miscellaneous food items. I will note we did have a donation. The weekly cribbage group has used the senior center space for I don't know how many years, but at least a decade. And they made a donation of $300 right before I left on vacation. So that was really, really generous of them. I don't know if folks are aware that Gladys Donovan, one of the longtime cribbage members, really feisty, independent woman. She died 2 weeks ago on the cribbage day, which in her sleep in her home, very peacefully. So I thought that was, if you could just share the words, if anybody knows of Gladys. She was really a firecracker. She was a great lady. So we had that donation, and the nutrition donation account has a balance of $12,332. And that we have about $300 in expenses from bistro supplies and coffee bar supplies like cups and creamers and things like that. The excuse me, one more. We applied for 4 grants within the past 3 weeks. Just to give you an update on the status of the grants, which will affect I hope we get all 4 of them, but it will affect our funding sources. The first is through the Mass Department of Transportation, and that's for a microtransit system here in Bridgewater. Basically, it equips our van and a few other vehicles with software technology to equip them to be able to almost be like a Bridgewater Uber system. So people can, on their smartphones or by calling the senior center, book a ride within, an hour's time instead of booking it in 24 hours time, which is a great pilot program that we're going to try to see if it is successful or not. Also part of that grant is a paid internship through BSU for a transportation coordinator. The second grant we applied for is it's called the Community Loneliness and Isolation Group, which is a bunch of nonprofit organizations up in the greater Boston area who had extra funding to put together something to reduce senior isolation and extended loneliness as a result of the pandemic. So we applied for $5,000 through them to put together an arts and a creative arts therapy program here at the senior center, which includes trips up to some local museums and a paid provider for art classes, art and music therapy classes. The third grant, it's a little guy. It was for $1,000, and I'm happy to say we did receive this one. Well, we received about $890 from this one this is through, I believe it's through Mass DOT, to put together almost like a little marketing and outreach package of senior center keychains. It has to be around transportation. So everybody who uses our van would get a little senior center keychain, which is great because it can also hold their My Senior Center card, which we scan when they participate in programs and activities. It's also to purchase a brand new wheelchair to keep on the van for those who are more dependent with their mobility challenges and needs, and just some basic office supplies to put together a little outreach plan, almost like a little mini initiative to let people know we have a van and they should use it. In the newsletter, I'm sure you've seen that there's a whole page dedicated to our coupon books. So basically we'll be charging $3 round trip, which is $1.50 each way, for using the senior center van outside of town. So if you call us and you need a ride to a Bridgewater hair salon, as an example, there would be no fee. But if you wanted to go to Walmart or Market Basket or anything outside of town, it would be $1.50 each way. But if you buy a coupon booklet, I believe the rate gets reduced to $1.25 each way. If any seniors express, the inability to pay for that, they can give me a call. We can have a conversation, and we'll be applying to Needy Seniors account for that. So, and it's completely, discreet. No one would be made aware of their needs. Is that 3 grants or 4 grants? The last grant is through Mass Development, which is another transportation grant. This is for almost $250,000. It's
Wow.
the same grant that we received last year to provide basically a larger fleet for Bridgewater seniors, people with disabilities of any age, and Bridgewater State University students in need. In need means they have expressed a financial need or home insecurity need or food insecurity need. So they would just, if we got the Mass DOT grant, they would just book a ride through their smartphone or calling the senior center, and we would employ a transportation coordinator to put it all together and make it work. So fingers crossed we get all of those pretty incredible opportunities, because one of the needs for older adults and people with disabilities in Bridgewater is to have accessible and affordable transportation. So if we get those grants, it addresses that need and fills the gap.
Meeting, can I call you back? Okay, bye.
And I think that's it for that.
Oh,
For the
Emily,
treasurer's report.
oh, sorry. Emily?
Yeah.
Hello? Can you tell me again how much the miscellaneous, how much is in the miscellaneous fund?
$38,375.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Does someone else have a question?
Emily,
Hi,
hi, how are you?
good.
Good. Not a monetary donation, but are you going to at some point mention there was Samaquin donation?
Oh, so I got back from vacation today and there was an Osamaquin donation of two outdoor furniture chairs, which looks lovely and matches. It's outdoors under the tent. And it's got these turquoise cushions and it's lovely. So we have a furniture donation from the Osamaquin Club.
There's a table
And-
in between, correct? Two chairs.
And
and
there's a
table.
little table in between, yes.
Good, okay.
So we'll be sending out any donation, whether it be in kind or monetary, gets a nice thank you letter. So they will be getting, Jean is the president, right? Jean Guarino?
That's correct.
You'll be receiving a thank you note on behalf of the senior center.
Was there any other questions for Emily? Okay, well, thank you. The next thing we had on our agenda was the Senior Center Building Subcommittee. Would you guys like to speak first, or did you want to have Chris speak first in regards to the building update and then ask questions or comment afterwards?
Probably update us with what's going on.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Okay. So the next item on the agenda would be the building update, and that would be Chris Hartman. Thank you.
Hi, how are you? How's everyone?
Hi.
So just to kind of give you a quick rundown of where we stand currently, and then we can kind of expand that discussion into any other avenues you like. We are at the point where we are having some active meetings with Bristol Plymouth Technical Vocational School in hopes of we've identified them as potentially the primary labor aspect of our portico project here. We had to go through the tedious process of putting this project out to bid recently, and to gather up all bids in accordance with like state requirements and whatnot for that bidding process. And those closed recently. We reviewed them, and we wanted to see basically how feasible is this project if we were to step outside of BP. And the numbers told us that really BP is our ideal targeted vendor for this project. So we are actively setting up a meeting with them. What we do have in place now currently is our engineered plans, a materials list. There's a few details to discuss on what type of materials and what not to move forward, but nothing that's going to impede us from here on out. If our upcoming meeting with BP is productive, we will be looking to move forward with ordering materials and setting a timeline with the school. Again, this is our plan going forward, so I can't really speak to the outcome of the meeting, but that is really our next steps in making progress. What we have got out of the way is really the crucial planning steps that I know everyone's pretty aware of, and I'm happy to kind of shed some light on how we got to this point, or anything leading up to this point now. But really, that's where we stand now. So an exciting turning point for sure. I kind of project things to move along a little bit quicker now that we've got the bid process out of the way. We've reviewed engineered plans, we've made adjustments, we've combed over cost and working through kind of some outside constraints as far as availability of materials and all the things that everybody's dealing with now currently outside of their house with trying to purchase anything or really get anything in a timely manner. So that's kind of where we stand right now, and happy to kind of field anyone's questions or go into detail about anything that anyone might want to bring up.
Chris, I had two timeframe questions. First one, just talking with you casually a couple of weeks ago, one of your concerns was if we went through BP, it might take a long time to, maybe the better part of a year to get the project complete. Do you see that happening a lot quicker at this point?
A lot quicker than a year. I can't really speak for BP. And I've already had a few discussions with them and really tried my best to pinpoint a schedule on their end. And it's very difficult to do that. And that's where one of the things that we're strongly considering, that it's really, you need some flexibility with BP. And if we do move forward with them, we need to first and foremost have a plan in place to accommodate the project at the senior center on site. And that means making sure that there's accessibility, making sure the project is safed off, and everything that goes along with a safe work site, because it essentially will be, the senior center will be a dual purpose. It's a functioning senior center day to day. However, now we're facilitating a student body project. So we need to make sure that that's in the forefront of our planning there. The scope of the project is not huge. There's no plumbing involved. There's no doors or windows involved. So I think it will move along in a timely manner. Really, I think we all need to be prepared if we do move forward with BP, that we have an understanding that it will take a little longer than a traditional contractor would to wrap the project up.
Chris, I believe that Karen has a question. Karen?
So the question is about the design, which is what we talked about, what I saw you and what we talked about in this meeting last time. So
Yes.
what design went out to bid? Because there isn't a design that has been shared with us that addressed the concerns that we raised last fall.
So if you could refresh my memory, Karen, as to exactly, I know we spoke just a few weeks ago on some design elements, but if I recall, our, the points of contention were lighting the height of the ceiling of the portico and any obstructions, if I remember correctly.
The roof line of the portico was set to cross over some actual windows that existed there. And I know Rich Gopin and some of the other folks can speak to that more clearly than I can, but it looked haphazard. And we all had major concerns about how that would actually work. So we were asking that a new roof line be designed that did not cut across windows.
Yeah, Karen, I think puts it very clearly. Chris, the design that you sent out to be bid, and you're talking about materials, you're talking about the scope of the work. Was that the same design that we saw earlier, or did that incorporate any of the suggestions that we put out as to obstruction issues, the thickness of the eaves, there were a number of suggestions that we made, and more than just suggestions. I wouldn't put it as demands, but certainly changes that we would like to see. And we haven't seen an approved document since that time that original was submitted.
So I'd be happy to forward along to Emily to share with everyone and to David the revised engineered plans. We did have discussions about that and did take everyone's concerns into consideration and revise them as best we could to move forward. The roof line itself, I'll just run through them real quick and happy to get your feedback. The roof line itself is in keeping with the existing roof line. So it will basically mirror the same pitch and the same sight line, essentially. What I think was more of discussion was the ceiling height. That was raised as high as we could go to really to give it that open air feel and really just capture as much natural light as possible there. Some lighting was added to the interior foyer to kind of brighten that area up. So you open the front doors, some lighting's been added right there. And as far as the design, I think maybe when you see it again, you can get a better understanding of the layout of it itself. And that sounds like it's kind of the primary concern of everyone. I can say that the design does not impede crossover, impede any of the windows. And there's two in the front, 2 windows and a doorway. The posts themselves, the outside posts, are really almost in line with the corners of the building if you're looking at the front. And really, it can be deceiving if you're looking at one SketchUp. The front of this portico has 2 pillars or 2 posts. They're about 2 feet apart. So the width of it overall, 30 feet. With 2 posts in the front, when you're looking at it from the front, it does look like it's impeding a window.
Are the posts or pillars cylindrical or are they square?
We went with a squared off finish for the posts. It's really the most, it's it's the best design concept. It's in keeping with the actual architecture of the building. They don't have to be prefab, they can be installed on site. And they give it a kind of a classical look. So we'd put some post caps on there, dressed up the soffits and trimmed down that front molding that looked a little bit kind of out of keeping, I guess you could say, with the design in the building. So, so we're comfortable with those changes, and we've tried to do it in best in keeping with basically what everyone, all the issues that everyone had raised and with our design and engineering constraints. So,
is there any reason you haven't sent out to us a PDF and photos of the revisions that you're talking about?
No, not really.
You can do that?
Happy to share. Absolutely.
Okay, you can do that soon, because it sounds like you're trying to move this project along, and which is a great thing that it move along, but you don't want to put the cart before the horse either. And you don't want to ignore, well, it sounds like you've considered many of the things that we've asked for, but we haven't seen, other than what you were just talking about, we haven't seen this.
Okay.
It would be nice if we could at least see it before you proceed much further.
Sure.
I think Diane has a great comment in chat. Chris, could you share your screen and show us now?
That would be great, because that way we could move this project forward. I think that
Yeah.
if you've got a visual that we could see right now, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
Agree.
and I see Anne's online, so she should be able to make it so that Chris can share his screen.
Yeah, Chris, it looks like, it sounds like you're describing something that's on your screen. Maybe if we could share that screen and see that screen.
Yep, I'm just pulling up designs right now. I have a
Perfect.
paper copy in front of me.
Great.
Right, I am sharing my screen now. Is that popping up when everyone else is in?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're looking at here is kind of basically a top-down sketch up here. Obviously, those are little folks coming and going here. We got the front doors right here. Both windows are situated to the left and the right by that thicker black line. Our first post to the left would be right here. What you see for dimensions is how far it'll bump out, and then our walkway will incorporate here. Here's more of a front view that can kind of show you a visual of what I was talking about, where it's a little deceptive. These two posts to the left and right that you see are actually at the front of this portico, 25 feet out from the building here.
What is the
Kind of,
siding that you are, it shows something, can you go back to the previous shot?
Sure.
Yeah, where it says siding to match existing? You see that?
Yep, right here.
Yeah. What, I don't quite get that. Why is that? I mean, where you're still blocking the canopies or the rounded parts of those windows based on this, and I'm not even sure why it does that.
So we're closing off the gabled end because we're putting a ceiling underneath this portico.
Right?
So if we didn't have siding there, we'd basically have, we'd have a ceiling and an opening at the front there. So to this siding, this closed off gable end will be where the ceiling starts and going up to the roof line.
Okay, but one of our concerns earlier that I think we all agreed on, in fact, was that the bottom line of that, what you're referring to as siding, is so low that it blocks the tops of those two windows. If that were higher, in other words, if the bottom line of that were higher by about a foot, maybe, you could still have plenty of room for ceiling there, and you would also not be covering up the windows, so that those pillars that are there also would have to reach higher too.
Well, that's where so we did raise this as high as it can go to 12 feet. And that's where we run into really engineering constraints. We can't necessarily push the ceiling up higher into this structure because you've got rafters, you've got joists there that are basically going across and holding up and tying into the beams and holding up the roof line and everything. So our workaround there was to push up the ceiling. I mean, this kind of gives the impression that it's a little lower than I think it's actually going to be. I think it's going to be more visually, aesthetically pleasing here once it does come out. You can see our dotted line coming across the design, showing where the eave essentially starts. So it's at a height of 12 feet from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Those windows there are probably max out, I believe, at like about 9 to 10 feet. So
yeah, I'm not suggesting that it go as high as that dotted line, but I do think it from an engineering perspective, I would think that it could go higher than it is what you're showing there, and it's certainly from an aesthetic perspective, it would be much more pleasing. In other words, not necessarily up to that dotted line, but something like splitting the difference between where it is now and the dotted line.
Well, the dotted line shows a height of 12 feet and 6 inches. And that's where our anticipated gable end closure is going to start. And the side view can kind of give you a better understanding of it. But those windows do sit well below 12 feet. The side view can kind of give you a little better understanding of that. So the existing building, if you were to walk up to it now, as that eave height, you're going to run into basically where the existing soffits are here on the roof. So it's well above the existing windows.
Chris, do you have a blueprint that would more clearly show what you're describing? Because if I'm listening to you, you're saying that the front of this structure would be higher than the curved part of the windows. It doesn't look like it from the current blueprint, but would you have something that would be more, making more visible the way it would truly look?
I mean, outside of this mock-up here, this is a full set of plans here. And I'm going off of dimensions here. So I could provide some on-site pictures maybe, physically go down with a tape measure, mark off 12 feet, 6 inches. If that would help and kind of alleviate some concerns. But these designs here are really, down to the inch. This is kind of a better workup here.
If you were to measure it like that, that would be pretty clear. If it's 12 feet or whatever, and you measure the window with the curve, you'd be very precise on if the front of the building is higher than the window. So it would be clear spoken to everyone at that point. I have one more question for you. When we discussed this whole building, and it seems like quite a long time ago now, but we were talking about BP at that point being the primary labor. And there was a lot to be said about a time frame and a time constraint. If we didn't get it signed up with them, and by a certain point, we would lose them. Is that the same thing right now, Chris? We're going into a new school year. I have to believe that we're one of only several projects for them. What is the cutoff point for us to get them to be the primary contractor for this building?
I think it's really, we're at a point where it's as soon as possible. I guess a better way of saying it is we need to have some timely meetings with BP at this point. They want to know that they can move forward with this project, to lock it up, get that off their plate. And we want to be able to kick off our timeline, get materials ordered, get, any necessary contracts or logistics rolling, as well as kick off site prep for the school. So really we're in the thick of it now, where it's time to really move forward and be diligent about meeting and getting things rolling. So
What decision?
we're at a great point, but we have to be timely.
Chris, could you give us can you give us an idea of the amount that can be saved by going with BP as opposed to going with a contractor?
Because the bids that we received are public information.
Chris, I think you.
We're not hearing you, Chris.
What now? Is the audio back?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
yeah.
Okay. So our original projections were in the range of $60,000, and projections, bids received from outside vendors to do this work, not including the cost of materials, started at $120,000 and went all the way up to $180,000 for foundation prep and construction of the portico. Our cost saving measures that we took into account were purchasing materials by the town itself. So based on the engineered plans, and that was included. That note was included with the bid, in the bid process itself. So vendors took that into account, that they would not be purchasing materials, getting to the job site, taking their time to get that end wrapped up. So I guess you could say it's a significant cost savings. We've reviewed our budget on our end and are comfortable with the funds that we have available to move forward with the plan that we've put in place with BP here. So
Chris, is it safe to say if we didn't go forward with BP, this project would be too expensive to continue?
Can I speak to that, Chris? Yes.
Sorry?
Um,
Yeah. Yes,
Tim.
you know, that's always in the
I-
forefront, is cost, 100%. So,
Kim, can you give us an idea of how much is left in that Hunt School account that was set aside for the senior center?
So that the monies were, I think it was 100,000 that was taken out. I just have my notes. Hello, everyone. I apologize. I've been away for a couple of weeks. Today's my first day back, so.
We go back to the full screen.
Yeah. Can you go back to the previous view, where it says pergola roof reinforced? That one. You say siding to match existing. Does that mean that we're looking at brick here? Where it says siding to match existing?
nope. So what is existing now on the front of the building is white vinyl
Okay,
on this gabled portion. And there's it's like a big circular medallion right in the middle. So what our plan is because the roof line will come in under the existing roof line here, that will remove that medallion, re-side with white vinyl siding, and then we'll match that white vinyl siding to the front of the portico here in this area. So if you were looking straight on, oh, sorry.
oh, can you show that again, the photos?
Absolutely.
All right, that's helpful, but looks like the original design.
It is. So this is kind of the concepts that he put up, but we've addressed trimming down this molding here, the siding for this gabled end, and this kind of illustrates how it would tie in essentially to the existing building. You should have a small reveal where there'll be some siding on this portion, and then that'll match in the front there.
There was also talk about weathering the sides on bad weather days.
Weatherproofing or
Well-
weatherizing or enclosing?
I didn't know if there were going to be like something coming down on days that,
Some kind of awning, maybe. A drop-down awning.
Not to
I'm not
my
sure.
knowledge.
no.
Not to my knowledge.
I think that could be done later. That's not something it doesn't have to be part of the construction. But there could be some drop-down awning on one or both sides, I think.
Because what happens when the weather and the snow's blowing in and,
Exactly, yeah. Well,
and also we talked about whether the bottom was going to be the brick or some type of stone facing. Hello?
Oh, yes, no, I heard you. I'm sorry. So that's a minor detail that does need to be finalized. There's a
Okay.
few materials that have been identified. I personally steering away from brick and more towards a stone veneer style material for the knee wall.
Mhm.
I think it's just, it's like just strictly from an aesthetic standpoint, there's no real material benefit, brick or stone. There's no better benefit there in one material or the other. So to me, it kind of boiled down to how can we make the senior center look the best possible and inviting and in keeping with with the building's aesthetics. So I'd identified a few stone veneers, and we just need to finalize that and move forward with one.
Yeah, on this view that we're looking at right now, the top view, number one, aside from one thing, it does not look like the other three views, the photographic views, the photorealistic views. And I think it looks good except for one key thing. If you can put your mouse cursor right there, and now zoom in, zero in on the center part of that, right there. No, go. Okay. Great. Now, if you put your cursor right where it, okay, just where it is, that part where you are right now, if that could be, if the roof line of that, or the
Front
go a little bit
facing.
lower, just a little bit lower, just a little low, yeah, right there. If that line could be raised to the same line as there where you're, yep, that's it. If that could be done, I would be very happy. I don't know about the other folks, but that would please me tremendously. And the thickness of the roof line itself is fine on this drawing, but it's way too heavy on the photorealistic views.
Yep. Agreed, 100%. The gable end is going to be in line with our eave, essentially. So your roof line ends about here.
Yeah.
And our plan is to bring it around and be consistent with the gable tying into where the ceiling height is.
Yeah, but that's not what all the other views show. That would be great if what you just described were shown in the other drawings, but it's not. So if they're going by those plans in those other drawings, then that's really contradicting what we're talking about.
Maybe we should find out what is the height from that peak to the bottom.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I apologize. Would it be helpful, Chris, or for the team, for those who feel comfortable, that we go back to the site? And Chris, you can measure it out, because these are, as I understand, the final drawings that were submitted. Any changes to it, we'd have to go back to the engineering firm and pay for. So is that something that you all would like to go out to the site, have Chris measure it out based on the engineered drawings so you can see the height?
Well, what I'm describing, I think, can be very easily shown on the drawing if I had control of a pen to do that. And I think it would be in line with other folks are saying. So I'd be happy to have anyone participate in that. You know, if I could sit next to Chris right now, I could show him very, very simply what I'm talking about, but it's a little difficult to describe verbally.
No, I understand, but the build that we have, what we have to give to BP has to be a stamped engineered plan. So even if I take a pen to it, it has to be to the specifications stamped by the engineer.
Well,
so if we're going to make changes, that means we'd have to go back. If Chris, you're saying that the drawing in the front did not represent what the actual engineered planned,
Correct. We're not dropping that gable front down lower as kind of depicted in that concept. It's staying in line with the ceiling height of 12 feet. So, and the reason I went back to here is because this this drawing depicts where the bottom of your roof line is, and that's in keeping with where the ceiling of your portico is. So there's no intention of bringing that gabled front down lower as, and that was something that was discussed already and been worked through. So apologies that, you know, the mock-up, the draw-up of it originally there kind of alludes to it differently, but you know, it's in keeping with what you're expecting, Rich, and what's been discussed. So
Yeah, I mean, what I'm describing, it would not increase costs at all. In fact, if anything, you'd save a little bit on materials because I'm talking about something a little bit less heavy. So it's, you know, it might be $1,000 saved on the materials even by doing what I'm suggesting. But that's not the reason for the suggestion. It's the reason is aesthetics primarily.
It sounds like they'd have to go back to the drawing board, though, from what Kim is saying. It sounds like this is the final group blueprint, and we'd have to go back and start from square one again. Is that
No,
correct,
it's
Kim?
not at all, not at all, not at all. It'd be a relatively simple alteration. But
And it
I'd
has
like
to
to
be
see it on the
stamped.
drawing.
Well, let me ask you this, back to Kim's point, would it make sense for us to meet there at the senior center, for Chris to be there to measure it out, to kind of make it more visible what actually is going to happen, and we can see where the starting point would be for that front?
Could we do that in the next couple of days? Is that
Sure.
possible?
Yeah.
Well, it happens that I'm at the senior center tomorrow between 1 and 2, or for a 1 o'clock meeting. I mean, just to throw that out as if anyone else can do that, if we could do that then. Or at 2 o'clock,
I'd be happy to, absolutely, sure.
okay.
I can go as well. I guess my concern is even if we make those changes, Chris and Kim, what was the cost initially for the architectural rendering?
We come in about $3,000 for an engineer.
Wow.
That's about right.
2,900.
And it sounds like at this point that the money that we have left in the Hunt School account is about $100,000. And would the materials be coming in someplace for BP, someplace around that?
Yes, we've got quotes that it's enough funding to cover quoted material
Just to be
costs. Yes.
clear, Chris, I think the monies, the $100,000, you use some funds towards the door,
Yes. So
the new, apologize, I still have fog on my brain. The French door.
Diane, I asked the same question. There's 79,000 remaining from the $100,000 Hunt School Fund.
Yes.
So 25,000 in supplies, roughly.
Between
$5,000
$20,000 and $30,000 in supplies.
Yeah.
Which then, if say at worst case scenario it was $30,000, then you're at $55,000. Which is the reason why circling back to Bristol Plymouth.
So what you're saying is that the cost of the building materials would be $25,000?
So it's around, I think Chris said around $25,000, you know.
Okay.
safely saying
Chris, I have a quick question. Can you hear me?
Sure, yes.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the original drawings that, back when this first started. And I don't know if it would be a help to clarify from it looks from the post up to the roof is saying 8 feet. So is that taller now?
So that was one of the revisions we did originally, and we raised our roof line to 12 feet here.
Okay,
So
so
we
that's,
added on 4 feet of ceiling height, essentially. So once you're
yeah,
under the portico, the average person will around 5 feet, 5.5, 6 feet. Yes, your ceiling will be about 5
Right.
feet higher than you, 5 feet
Right.
above you.
And you did do some interior light work, Chris, is that correct? So that to try to mitigate any kind of loss of light or perceived loss of light that would be in the building? You've already
Yeah,
done.
we did. We kind of ran through that initially there, but we did add some light into the existing foyer. And then with ceiling height, the ceiling level being heightened to accommodate windows, natural lighting and whatnot. Those were some of the primary revisions we did, yes.
are you putting reset lighting in underneath?
That's the plan, yes.
Okay,
Recessed lighting, one outlet. And we'll be kicking out the lamp posts that are existing. Kicking out, I mean, bumping them out to the left and the right a little bit more.
so do we have lighting on the outside for people like walking in, like winter, nighttime, people leaving and going? And do we have any type of lighting going up in the middle?
Outside of the recessed lighting that we're proposing goes into the portico. No. I mean, you've got the street lamps will be really a few feet out from the portico where they kind of in keeping with where they are
Okay,
along the walkways now.
I didn't see lighting on the outside.
I'm just speaking to the existing street lamps that are there, or walkway lamps, I should say.
Okay,
You've got 4 existing now out front of the senior center, 2 on both sides, and then you have that 1 bench and 2 lights on each side.
So can we do a brief meeting tomorrow, maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock?
Absolutely.
Who else is going to be available for this? So far, we
Yeah,
have.
who else can come?
Chris. Who else is able to come?
I'll
I
be
can-
here.
I can be available, but I also think that if we're going to be moving forward, that we need to think about doing that now rather than putting this off until an August meeting. So I guess I would like to if that seems to be the one thing that people are concerned about, and that is the aesthetic look of the front of the building, which seems thicker than what we had initially wanted. I was wondering if just on a basis of trust, if we could bring this to a vote, think about bringing this to a vote at some time during this process today, rather than having the meeting tomorrow and then putting that off, our voting off until August. Just a suggestion, but anyway, that's just my point of view.
Oh, it's a good idea. So what would you want to have voted on today? To continue or to continue with changes? What is the statement?
It sounds like what I'm looking at, or what we're looking at, is that if the other bids are coming in at $120,000 to $180,000, and if we have $79,000 in the kitty at this point, then that the only viable option for us at this point would be to go with BP. And if BP is looking to set things up for this coming September, it seems that if we're going to be moving forward, that we might want to take a look at that and those constraints and decide where we want to go with this.
Well, that's a great idea. And I do have one more question for Kim. Kim, if we were to decide at this point to revamp the blueprint and have the engineer redo it, I understand it would be about a $3,000 charge. What is the time frame for something like that?
So again, engineering firms are busy. This is a small project.
Right.
It's big for us. It's a small project. One of the reasons it took a long time is because someone was trying to squeeze us in because their profit margin is not really great for us, for them. So we'd have to go back and hope Bernardo will put us in. I don't have a timeline for what they would do. I know they took a long time to get us this far.
So we're missing one voting member today, Nick, but other than that, everyone is present.
Can we take off the frame now?
What's that?
Can we take off the picture and bring us all back to view? There we go.
So I guess I would ask, is everyone in agreement with the comment forward that we should vote today whether to go forward with BP? I guess I'll go right down the line. Diane, you want to vote today?
I would like to vote today with the, if we can place our trust in both Kim and Chris to move forward with our recommendations in terms of, it sounds like what we're concerned about is the thickness of the portico in the very front, that triangle. And,
Right.
And maybe we can meet tomorrow just to get an idea of how that will look. And I would feel comfortable with that today.
Okay. Gloria,
Yeah, as would I.
Sandy?
Yes, I agree. I will not be able to meet tomorrow.
Okay. Debbie?
I agree. I have to babysit tomorrow at 12:30, so I won't be able to be there.
Okay. Mary Lou?
I do agree, but I also will not be able to be there tomorrow due to a previous appointments.
Okay. Robin?
I just have to add on to what was being discussed. I believe the facial board was shrank down, that it's not as wide as in this original picture that I'm showing here. And they have brought up from 8 to 12 feet.
12 feet.
Right.
So,
And-
which is gonna show the windows. And also they do have to keep in line with that roof line.
Yeah.
And if they're, building lights and stuff underneath. So yes, my answer is I'm fine.
Okay.
And I'm fine with the whole project.
Okay. And Rich?
Yeah, I want to say that, I think there are definitely a lot of improvements in this design over the previous one. Absolutely. I think that the additional change that I'm talking about, at least, is not huge. I don't think it would impact the architectural drawing much at all, but enough that it really, it should be shown. It needs to be shown, I think. And yes, I'm in favor of going with BP. There's no doubt about that.
Before I go on though.
And I will be there tomorrow if
Isn't what Kim is saying though, that if we were to go forward with BP, we're at a time period that we would not be able to change the current blueprint and that BP would not be able to do any changes from the current blueprints.
Right.
Is that
We have
correct?
to give
If
them,
that's the case, then there's no reason to meet tomorrow.
That's why
It's a
I'm
done
trying
deal.
to bring this up.
we have to
So-
give them a fully engineered drawing. Again, the great part about working with BP is the labor costs that we can save, which are significant. I want to choose the challenge is that it is being built under the supervision of a project manager, foreman, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. But it's also being built by students that are trying to interpret the information that is given on a drawing. It's a little bit different than working with the contractor. So the great thing is that we will get this project done with BP, working with the students, which is an excellent project for them to learn on. But it's going to take a longer time because they are students and they are, I don't know if Chris discussed that part. It was one of the reasons why we were trying to look for a contractor, because we could get it done, quickly. If we could get someone on board, they're on site, they do the prep work, the site work, they can put the trusses up, and then we're done. It's going to take a significantly longer time when we're dealing with students, and they've done some wonderful work. Most recently at the police station, they built the structure there, but it does take some period of time. So I want to give you all that if you weren't given that already, so you have that in mind. This has been a longer time than we anticipated and wanted, which is why at the beginning I wanted to move quickly, because we had them on the hook. But then, life, we had some changes. I think we have a better product now, but it is going to take a bit of time. And I think Emily and Chris, we have the meeting being scheduled with BP to go over and give them everything if this is where you want to go.
Great. I had one question for Emily. Emily, we don't do a lot of votes like this. Our associate member, and I didn't want to count out two of our members, our associate members of our commission allowed to vote?
They're non-voting members, excuse me.
Non-voting, okay. I just want to make sure of that. So I guess if no further questions or concerns, we should vote. I'll go right down the line. Diane,
What are we voting on?
well, I guess we're voting on to continue according with BP, according to the current blueprint.
Why are we voting? They're doing that anyway.
Well, no, if we were to vote against it, we would have to go back, we'd have to go back to the drawing board and have a new blueprint drawn up. And we probably would, it sounds like we would not get BP, certainly for this fall semester, to do the work. So I guess that would be the choices.
I'm not saying I can't get, I want to be clear. I have to go back and get the drawing altered. Is that correct, Chris?
Potentially, I mean,
That's a yes or no.
if we're making structural changes, yes.
And then we need to continue to try to court with BP, but they go off of, do you have the final plans and are you ready to go? That's their thing.
That's right.
Soon as we have the materials, soon as we're ready to have the site work done, I want to be able, when Emily and Chris and we have the meeting with them, to say, we put us on first. We've been talking with them and we want to be up first because we're ready to go.
So Kim, if we don't have the, excuse me for interrupting, if we don't have a blueprint to present to them, they can't put us first on the list until we're not ready.
Yeah, we're not ready to go. I'm not saying, Chris, if this is a minor change, if it's structural, they got to go back and do a little bit of work to it. I can't look how long Bernardo has taken to give us something. So I'm only nervous on that. Not that it can't be done. Rich, your point is, I do buildings when I'm working with folks, I'm doing change orders all the time. It's not a big deal. I don't want to make it like a big deal. I'm saying this is a small project that they're not as interested in moving us along. I could tell Chris.
Let me put this just in one other perspective, though. From the students' point of view and the school's point of view, whatever if we make a change here, a structural change, it's not going to affect whether they decide to do the project or not. So they can commit to doing a project it's not going to be a huge, change for them as far as making their decisions and making their plans. It would be slightly less material, perhaps. That's a little bit of savings. The change in the drawing can be done in minutes, So that's, if that's going to hold back a project, I think that's kind of silly. So
No,
I would, if we're voting now to go with the current drawing, and that's our only option, I would vote against it. So I hate to say that, but it shouldn't be necessary to do that, but I would vote against it personally.
Well, let me go back to Chris and to Kim. The changes that we're describing, what would the process be to get these accomplished at this point? Is it going to take a week? Is it going to take a month?
That's what, we'd have to go back to Bernardo and say, here's the change, make the adjustment. My only concern, I agree with Rich. These are not difficult things to do. It's only if I'm doing it, if I'm an engineer and I'm doing it, then it's super simple. We're relying on
Right.
a company that already took a long time. That is really my only concern. That's what I'm saying. I totally agree with Rich. This is something they do every day.
Right.
Will they do it in time? My only concern is it's July. I want to be able to sit down with BP, with Emily and Chris and say, guys, here it is. We've got the plan. Here's the whole thing. I think we can get them on the schedule. I just don't want us to be in August messing around with this company and I don't have a plan and then they push us off. That's my only thing. But your point is well taken, Rich. I think if you all are able to look at what's been done based on, Robin is correct. The roof line was raised for
From 8 to 12.
inches, from 8 to 12. We put additional lighting already in the interior to try to adjust any light loss that was perceived or becomes reality. And then made some adjustments in the plan. If you look at that tomorrow, Rich, and that's not what you all like or whomever shows tomorrow, then we go back. I just like to be clear because I know you all have been waiting a long time. We all have. I just want you to have the information so you're not frustrated.
Well, there's a couple of things that I would just bring up quickly. First of all, tomorrow, it only sounds like a couple of individuals from the commission are able to attend. Back to what Robin shared with us, I see big changes in the blueprints. Moving up the front of the building in the roof line, 4 feet additional is a big change. And I think it's made a positive difference in where it was before to right now. Diane.
Yes. Can we take a look at that pen and ink drawing again? And could you, Chris, make it more, sort of draw your finger across where the line was? Because it seemed to me that it had been reduced, but it just didn't show that in the drawing. But maybe I'm mistaken.
Hi, Dan, which
Chris, if you could share the screen again.
Yeah, the drawing that was submitted for bid. Can you share that with us? And you had said at one point that it was where the dotted line was, that it wasn't really where it was, where the picture came through. So if you could show us that drawing that was submitted to the engineer's drawing that was submitted out to bid, then, and sort of show us where that dotted line was for the end of that triangle on the portico. I'd appreciate that.
Sure, trying to share it right now. Hang on one
Thanks.
moment.
And thanks again for your patience.
Of course.
I think if we all saw it. Okay, so here we go.
So this is the structural design here. Your eave, which is where our anticipated ceiling line is right in keeping with this dotted line coming across.
Okay.
This is your gabled front end.
Okay.
So if you were looking at this in real time and it was built and it was right in front of you, you'd be able to walk up underneath this. Your ceiling is right here at a height of 12 feet and 6 inches.
Okay. Can I
This-
just, a question, would the
Sure.
overhang, how much of an overhang would there be on this white siding that is put on that beam?
Mhm.
That is something that we're anticipating, basically attaching a ceiling, putting either strapping right here, which is about an
Yes,
inch thick, and then
but-
we putting ceiling paneling over it.
But on the front
the-
face, as you're facing this, where it says front wall to lock beams and prevent rolling. You see
Okay.
that dotted line at the bottom of that? Yeah, right there, right there. That line is what I personally think is the problem, because you have
Yeah,
facing there that comes down too low. It's too big of a lip all the way
Right,
down
and-
to there.
And
if
I
that-
understand, I do understand where you're coming from, Rich.
Yeah.
Again, this is the structural that the building department is concerned with. And BP as a vendor. So they're gonna build this portion to spec.
Uh-huh,
They're gonna put this post exactly where it calls for on this footing. It's gonna
okay,
come up and tie into this beam here.
right,
Your collar tie is gonna come right across that top beam. And then your rafters are gonna come off of that. As far as siding, what we let the vendor know is what they're going to install. If we say, for instance, that we want that siding and the fascia of this whole front gable to
mhm,
come down 8 feet, they'll build it down 8 feet. But what we're saying is that concept picture that we saw is a little misleading. We're anticipating siding and dressing up with trim board, just this open gable front. We're not bringing it down to where that concept picture shows it touching these caps. And these caps are designed, so this post is going in the middle, kind of a crisscross. This kind of dotted line is to represent the trim that's wrapping that post.
mhm.
It comes up, we put this decorative cap on, and then we have this beam here. It's hard to see, but the arrow alludes to the size of the beam.
Mhm.
And we wrap that beam itself. And then we're basically putting a ceiling here, closing in this portion that's open, roofing it, dressing it up, and opening and setting it open for business.
Mhm.
Chris, I
So
have
I-
a- Chris,
and
I
I
have a
hope
que-
that kind of alleviates your concerns. I think that's our main topic for discussion tomorrow, if I'm
Yeah.
not correct.
Where your cursor, your hand was just now, that's area, yeah. That space right there, having material there, I would love to see that just come up, say a foot or whatever, and have that capital that your hand is on right now,
Yep.
come up to that line, so you're moving it up. Okay, move that up like a foot to match the, rather than be, that would not, if your material were coming down to where that cap is right now, I think that's too much, and it's too heavy, and would block too much light. But
I
if you could
agree.
raise that up about maybe a foot, I'm just guessing here on actual distances, but if you raise that up about a foot, that cap on both columns, and then that were your line that you filled, I realize where the ceiling line is, that's different. But if you brought it up as close to the ceiling line as possible, I'd be very happy with that. And I think I'd have no problem. And I think it's a simple change.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Chris, two right there on that one. Could you, with your cursor, show us exactly where the top of the arch of the windows are?
I can't on this on this engineered draft, no. That's something that we'd have to address tomorrow on site. These give us dimensions really, so that's really what I'm concerned about with these plans here. But I could do my best to put something together tomorrow for you. Absolutely. Have a more in keeping with the existing building.
Let me ask a question. Besides Rich, who else is available to go tomorrow to meet with Chris?
I am.
I am.
I am.
Okay, should we have Gloria? Who else did I hear?
Doug.
Do you have
Doug?
Tuesday or Wednesday? Does Wednesday work
Tuesday.
better for more people?
Tomorrow.
No, Tuesday.
So
I'm
let me
gonna
just
try
be-
to make it.
Let me just be clear. I saw Karen's comment. One of the reasons why we're back here is this is your building. We're not trying to force anything down. I think Chris believed that this design addressed many of the issues and needed to go out to bid to get some ideas about where we were in this project. Your role is here to have these discussions. Rich has offered some great commentary. As everyone has. If we have to go back, we have to go back. What my goal here is to just make sure that, when I speak with Emily and with Chris, is to just make sure that you all are in the loop and you're on board. If we were trying to push this down, we were just saying it's going to start on this day and that's
Okay.
and go forward. That's not my goal ever. This is your building and we want you to be happy with it.
Kim, so let me just ask this, back to Rich's comments. It seems very simple, but if we were to make the change of moving up the little bit of the front facade, a foot or 2 feet or whatever, would that call for it to be all redone again? The blueprint?
So not it has to be altered, revised. So I can ask you, Chris, if that's something you can reach out to Bernardo to see if we had a small revision after our discussion tomorrow, how quickly would they be able to do that?
And how much?
And how much? That's good. Amen. Who said that?
I did.
Robin.
That's my person. How much it would cost for us to do that, so we can give you that information.
I think a little while ago, Diane, you brought up you were looking to go for a vote now. Are we still looking to go for a vote today? Are we looking to put this off? I mean, we've been talking about this for quite a long time. To me, it looks like there's been a lot in the favor of the commission changes of what we're looking for. I'm in favor of voting today. Are we still in favor of that, or do we want to put it off for another day?
Since I was the one who sort of brought that up, I guess, having had contracted work done before just on a house, but on different houses, I know that sometimes after it's gone out to bid or whatever, you can talk with the contractor and say, look, these are some changes that we would like to have done. And with having gone to also the architectural firm and gotten that information, and that would give them a little bit longer to get that to us. So I'm wondering if what we could do would be to vote on that today with the idea that we would make those requests for changes to the engineering company, and that it would also give the engineering company time to make those changes if BP would be willing to work with that particular format, the new format that was be done.
Well, that sounds good. Let me ask you, Kim, does that, we would have to vote, but does that make sense? What Diane is saying to you, does that seem like it might work?
So Chris, you can call Bernardo to see, based on some preliminary discussions today, if we had to make a change, you have the information, correct?
Yes. Yep.
what would that look like and how quickly could they get that back to us and at what cost?
Okay.
Keeping in mind, we got to be with BP.
What is your date of meeting with them?
Chris, do you have a date?
We don't. I'm targeting this week.
Okay.
So we got to move quickly because I know it's July 11. I just want to get them on. But if we meet on site tomorrow and take a look, if everything looks good, we're good.
Okay.
If not, based on you all are gonna take the
My only concern is tomorrow, Kim, there's only gonna be, it looks like
It
4
won't
voting
be a
members
quorum.
here. It won't be a quorum.
so
I would think we would have to vote today because we
so
have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 voting members out of 9 today. So I think we would have to vote today.
could you trust your whomever's gonna come tomorrow and say, because you'd have to if you have a quorum, you got to post a meeting
Exactly.
24 hours. Based on the discussion that you're having today, if you're saying that the people that show up tomorrow, if you trust the their suggestions or concerns are not are valid and we need to move on, then we move on.
Would Chris have been able to contact Bernardo by that time and gotten some idea about when they might be able to get a drawing out so that I imagine BP would be starting in September so that they could move forward with the new plan?
I know
A
Chris
revised.
some things, but it's 3:30 on Monday and they'll be shutting up shop in about half hour and we'll probably be meeting at 1 o'clock tomorrow. So I hope that they will get back to it. I don't want to say they will.
Every effort to get a hold of them.
He may or may not have that information for you tomorrow, perhaps by the next day. Like nothing's tomorrow, we're not starting to build tomorrow. So we can get that, maybe an email out to everyone. Is that?
Well, how about if we voted today and if there's any major concerns, I guess could we change it? I don't know. I just feel like it's going to continue and it might not get accomplished because we're going to have 4 people here tomorrow. And one of them is an associate member, so they won't be able to vote. So there would be 3 people that are voting.
Is there another day that you all can meet on or the majority could meet?
Not this
Even
good for me.
So are you suggesting that there is not enough reason to trust 3 voting members and an associate member to?
I'm not suggesting that at all, Rich. I'm saying the 3 folks that are going, I trust them implicitly, but we have 8 or 9 voting members and I think
It's
from the people's votes I see now, I think it's gonna, I think we're almost half and half right now. I think.
Can I suggest, how about,
Please.
is Monday a good day to meet?
That would be great for me. I don't know about everyone else.
Could we commit to next Monday?
How about everyone else? Diane, what about you for Monday?
I can commit to next Monday. That would work.
Okay.
I guess just a question to Chris. Can those plans be changed? I mean, did the police change their plan at all in the middle? How did that work? And I guess also, how long does it take to post a meeting in order for us to be able to have a meeting next Monday? And we could not possibly vote tomorrow because we won't have a quorum. I know all this stuff because I just did because I'm a new member. I had to go and read all that stuff online. But anyway, that's where I'm coming from. I'd like to move forward, but I'd like to. I hear what Rich is saying, and I also agree with that particular change. But all the other changes have been made, and I just figure if that's the one thing that's left, there must be a way to deal with BP to say, hey, look, just make it a little shorter, But maybe I'm just pretty much naive in terms
Diane,
of.
we have plenty of time to post the meeting for next Monday. You only need to
I
do
won't be
it.
able to make next Monday.
I can't either.
I can't either.
So there's, Monday doesn't sound good.
So is there, do you all use the doodle polls, Emily? Or no?
Huh?
Is there a way to poll? I can't hear you.
Can I just suggest that maybe we do take a vote today? And that vote be based on the way things stand at the moment with any relatively minor changes that the subcommittee or this group that is able to meet tomorrow, if they're made, they'll be implicitly accepted in the vote that we're making today.
So let me ask
Would
you a
that be good?
question, Rich. If they were not be able to make the changes to the front of the structure, would you say at that point, let's go for it anyway? So let's stop.
No, I would vote
Yeah.
against it. I
Okay.
mean, personally, I would vote, my vote would be against it. That doesn't
Okay.
mean it doesn't carry. It just means my vote would be against it.
Okay. Then personally, I would like to do a vote today because I would like to see the structure continue. I think they made a valiant attempt to make all the changes that we asked for. It's not perfectly what we're asking for, but it's much closer. I'd like to see them go ahead. I think everything that you've asked for, Rich, makes sense. But if it's not able to happen, I would still like to see it continue. So I would like to see the vote happen today.
So,
I agree.
so is the vote to accept it as it is without any changes?
I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say, I would like to vote to go ahead with, if it's possible at all, with the changes that you're describing. I think they make sense. I would love to see it. But I would also like to see the building continue anyways, even if they are not able at this point to make a change. So I guess that's how I would describe it.
Rich, why don't you make a motion?
Aye?
Yeah.
Yeah, my motion would be, but I don't think it's what Dave is saying. We could make a motion to accept the drawings as they are right now and to go ahead with the project as is. That can be a vote, and that's a motion. Someone wants to second that, they can second that.
Are you really sure that's what you want to do?
Yeah, because I'm going to vote against that, but I'm just saying I'm making the motion because that, it sounds like that's what Dave is saying.
Well, no, I'm actually saying, Rich,
I'm going to make an amendment to your motion.
okay,
I'd like to make an amendment to your motion is that that we move forward with the project with the idea that we will meet tomorrow with as many people as who can be. We would meet tomorrow with Chris and discuss changes that we would like to implement, and would hope that, and would encourage him to contact the engineer and make the changes that are suggested.
well, what would the answer be then, Diane, if tomorrow they say they're not able to make the changes? What are we saying at that point?
But I don't think it's good, that could even happen tomorrow. I mean, I don't think Chris is going to tell us, oh, we can't do that. I don't want to speak for you, Chris, but I'm just saying, I don't think that's something that he's going to be able to say, no, we can't do that. Because I'm sure he'll say, yeah, that's doable. It's a question of whether the engineers get the drawings done in time or whatever.
Would it
So
be
there's no-
possible to take a vote on whether or not to allow a final vote via doodle? That, could someone make a motion saying that pending updates from the commission, the building committee folks, a doodle poll will be sent next week for a final vote on this?
To take a vote via doodle or to call a meeting?
Well, I'm not sure. I think we can take a vote. Well, maybe I'm misreading Emily's note.
I think
Because
she
she
was
said we can
doing a
use doodle.
doodle poll to see when people might be available to meet. as a
Ah,
group.
okay. Never mind. I didn't say anything.
Can I just say something, Rich? On your thought process here with the building. I feel that everything has been met. They
Mm-hmm.
did raise this up 12 feet from
Mhm.
8 feet. If you go any higher, what is
No,
the,
No, he's not talking about
I'm
the
not
roof.
suggesting that. I think, no, I think that's, I love that, what they did. I love everything they did, except for one little
the
piece, and
roof, the
that's
roof
the
line?
front lip. No, well, no, not, it's not even the roof line. The roof line's fine. It's the lip that's in
Yeah.
front that is
Yes.
blocking light, that looks too heavy aesthetically, and that almost defeats some of the purpose that they went, the work that they went through in raising that roof line. So
But I
I
thought-
want to just bring that up so it doesn't block as much light, so it
Right.
looks better, it looks lighter, and allows for what the nice work that they did to be appreciated more. That's it. That's my only thing, is that.
Diane, now,
But
could you,
Chris,
Diane,
didn't-
could, Diane Rosa, could you repeat your motion? Because basically you're looking to go along with what Rich is saying, but to kind of vote today to proceed with the project. Could you clarify it more for me? Maybe that's the way to go.
Give me off the top of my head. God, I don't know what I said. Speech and language pathologist was a lot of words here.
I wrote it down, Diane. Want me to read it back to you?
Sure.
Oh, one.
Probably want to
great.
amend that, amend the amendment.
You
Go
want,
ahead.
you want me to read it? Okay.
Sure.
The
You're
amendment
good,
to the
Sandy.
motion- The amendment to the motion, move forward with the motion and meet tomorrow to discuss changes that we want and then have Chris go to the architect with that.
Okay.
That's your amendment.
Okay.
And
Like-
and
Sounds a
I
little
think what
wordy.
you're also implying to approve the project pending that,
Yes,
pending that is a feasible, that is
Yes.
determined to be feasible.
Yes.
Yep.
I would feel very comfortable with that.
Okay.
But just to finalize that, Diane, is that saying if tomorrow we're not able to change the plans, the blueprint to our desired changes, we would not go forward? Is that
Well, I
what?
think what we're doing is taking a look at what with Chris, with what it looks like tomorrow, and
Mhm.
coming up with an idea of how to shortening that, and taking a look at how to move those columns, the pediment up.
Capitals.
Sorry.
I think we need to,
And then give those suggestions with Chris, have Chris then contact the engineer and have the engineer make the changes, and have the BP explain to BP that we have an amended plan and go forward with that at that point. I just know that when we hire contractors, that we change things in the plans as we're looking at them, and the contractors are okay with that. So I can't imagine that BP wouldn't have some provision about that.
I don't know. Is BP flexible like a typical contract?
If it's a material change, then it has to be on the plan. If it's
Right.
not.
That's
then-
why we're saying to have the engineer redo it.
So
Yeah.
what you're saying is don't go for, tomorrow is to look at the,
To change,
what is there now, or tomorrow is to what?
can I say something?
Yes, please, Gloria.
I think we need the visual tomorrow. I think that you're correct. Chris has shown us plans that have had lots of revisions in them that we were all agreeing on. I think we need the visual tomorrow to see exactly what Rich is trying to say to us. We're going back and forth here, but I think unless we visually see it, we're stuck. We're stuck right now.
Yeah.
My
So
opinion,
Chris-
we need to meet. We need
So
to meet.
so we're just, tomorrow you want to see it. And if it's what you want, do you want us to go forward? If it's not what you want, to go back to the architect, or is it to go back to the architect now? I just want to make sure we're doing what you want.
I think it has to be seen
Yeah.
again to see what the height is
So
and
we're
the
gonna,
length.
so we're gonna hold, because the only reason I'm asking is because when we go back, we have to pay. So I just want to pay one time. We
Right.
have to. So,
Every time there's a change made, they're gonna charge us.
right,
Right.
so I just want to go, so tomorrow, we're looking at what is and what you want changed.
Yep.
And based on that, we go back and ask for the change.
Yes, because when we see it, we might actually like it and it might end right there. So I think we're a very visual group, so I think we have to do that tomorrow.
I just want to make, because I asked Chris to call them now, so don't call them now, right, yet, Chris.
No.
Is that right?
I've got him as a saved contact. I can call him in at any point.
I just want to make sure we get a bill one time. That's all I care about.
That would give us some information about how long it might take them to come up with the change in plans so that we'd know what we were voting for there too. So if you can, that's awesome.
And how much?
Get
And
as
how
much
much,
preliminary
Rob?
info.
Right,
tomorrow.
that's my question all the time. How much?
But you know, if we're looking at $25,000 for materials and we're adding, that's a lot less than the 120 to 180,000 for a bid outside. So if it makes us feel more comfortable, I don't think that's a big
But you
deal.
only have 76,000, is it, Emily?
Yes,
Nine.
you have 79
Nine.
one, but you haven't purchased the
79.
material. And like I've said on other projects, I'm saying 25, but if anything changes in the economy, we're all feeling it.
Right.
Part of the reason why things are cost so much, you know, labor, transportation, stuff sitting, and gas prices, stuff getting here. So you're hearing 25, it's not unusual if prices kick up that it will be more. I just want to be, that's for clarity. That's for, because
That doesn't sound like enough money, in my opinion.
it's not a
I
lot
got-
of money.
I got quoted 11,000 to do a small little porch here, and I'm like, are you crazy?
Absolutely.
I would never do that.
Absolutely. So that's the reason why I think Chris is circling back to BP, because the costs have escalated across the board. So we're trying to cobble together enough to get this important project done. And, you know, on the parallel track, I'm like, if we have to go back and add stuff to the capital plan, then we need to do that too, to make sure that this project gets done. I think it's an important project. That's Kim speaking. I don't have no authority to take money out. That's going to be the council. That would be our plan.
I think it's important to move forward too, to have BP there, to have the cost of the materials be as low as we can get them. And to make it aesthetically pleasing. So any way that we can figure out how to do that and make everybody happy and get the vote going tonight, today, it's not night yet, is it?
Hey, Diane, I'm not gonna be able to be there tomorrow either. And my concern is this, and I don't want to go back and forth. I mean, we've been on this for a long time. First of all, I want to thank Chris and Kim and Emily for all the work they've done in getting to this point. I think they've done an amazing job. I think this is, whatever final structure is going to have beauty and grace and a lot to the senior center. Is also going to add outdoor sitting areas. So I think it's going to be great. And I think it's going to be used an awful lot. I would like to see, and it's probably one of the lesser votes, but I would like to see, even if we're not able to make any further changes, because I feel that Chris and Kim and Emily have made almost every change that we've asked, that I would like to see it go forward no matter what. I don't want to see one thing stopping it from going
I
ahead.
agree.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what I would like to
It's a
vote for.
minor.
That if I'm not going to be here and a lot of other folks aren't going to be here, I want to see that no matter what, that BP is going to get this first on their agenda, that we're going to continue with that. And I would love to see, you know, what Rich is asking for and everyone else with a few minor changes, and hopefully we can do it. But I really want to see it continue no matter what. And, you know, I don't want to, you know, stop this gigantic project because we're not 100% satisfied. Well, I don't know that we're ever going to get everyone 100% satisfied.
True.
So I would like to vote on it today and vote, you know, yes or no, but I would like to also have Rich's voice and whoever else goes tomorrow, voice be heard, Diane and whoever else, and Gloria. And, you know, if you can have them change those minor changes, more power to you. I think that's great. But if we can't, then I would still like to see it go ahead. So that, I guess that's where I'm coming from. So is there anyone that opposes voting for that? I would like to have that vote today. So I'll go first. I would like to see the structure go ahead. I would like to see Kim and Chris meet with BP and, get first on the list. If they're able to make the changes, I think that's wonderful. You've already done a great job and everything you've changed, but if you could do more, that's great. But if not, I would still like to see it go ahead. So I'm going to vote yes for to continue. Diane?
I think you need a motion and have it seconded, right?
I thought you would have to do that. Oh, after each person?
Um,
Oh, I'm sorry. I see what you're
which
saying.
motion are we going
I
back?
thought there was a
Okay.
motion that was about to be seconded, so.
Oh, I see.
Floor.
So I guess
So-
I'm looking for it to be
I'm
second.
just-
I would
I'm just-
second you, David.
Thank you. Okay. So I voted yes. I guess my next person on the list would be Diane Rosa.
Okay, I think I'm totally with you. I'm just looking at where we are right now. Sandy, there was a motion on the floor before that was amended.
Yes.
Do we want to vote that one down first before we go with, and what's the protocol here, David?
Well, I guess
withdraw
I'm
that.
sorry for confusing you. I guess I maybe jumped ahead. Basically, I would like to change our original decisions. I would like to vote today whether we, after tomorrow, the four of you are gonna review the picture, the blueprints. You're gonna speak with Chris, you're gonna speak with Kim. You're gonna see, how much further change we can achieve in the blueprint. But what I would like to vote today is whether yes or no, we continue with this project, even if we can't get everything we want tomorrow, if we're going to continue anyways. Because what I don't want to personally see is a stop after tomorrow if they're not able to accommodate. Does that make sense?
Okay, so the motion you're asking for from the floor is that you would like to move forward with the project.
I would like to, yes.
Okay, with the proviso that a group of people meet tomorrow,
Correct.
Chris, at the site and decide if changes need to be made into the bottom of the portico.
Correct. Also,
And the committee will trust whoever is there to make that decision. And we will move forward with the project.
but slightly off from that, Diane, because if they're not able to make the changes, I still want to see the project go forward. I don't want to see it.
I think I put an if in there someplace, but if I didn't, that's
Okay, so I would agree with that.
okay. Does anybody have a second?
A second.
Okay,
Okay. So now that it's more clarified, I would vote yes still. Diane,
I'll vote yes.
Gloria,
I'll vote yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Rich?
This is on Diane's motion,
Yes, it
correct?
is.
Yes, I vote yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Mary Lou,
Yes.
and Robin.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is carried with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 votes yes, 0 votes no.
So what time are we meeting tomorrow?
1 o'clock? 1 o'clock, correct, Chris?
I have a meeting with somebody at 1 o'clock at the senior center, so I can't meet I would have to wait until that's over. So
Chris, what-
1:30 or I think it would be over by 1:30, but I'm not sure. But
Chris,
In the morning work for anybody?
Chris, what works for you?
Just double checking right now.
Okay,
12 o'clock onward, I have flexibility and happy to accommodate who can make it at what time, and
Okay.
afternoon would be ideal though, 12 o'clock onward.
12 o'clock would work for me.
I could do 12.
12
Yeah.
o'clock's good for me too. Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
Actually, I could probably do 12.
Yep.
I might have to leave.
there you go. Great.
It looks like we have 5 people attending.
12's
That's
good
great.
here. I'll be there.
Okay, great.
Up to 6.
Thank you. Well,
Excellent.
bravo. Thank you very much, Chris and Kim, for
Yeah,
helping
you.
facilitate. I appreciate it.
High noon tomorrow it is?
Yes.
Be great. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thanks, everyone.
We
All right.
appreciate all your
Bye
input.
now.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Anticlimactic, I don't even know if you have time, that director's report.
Can you hear me?
Are we on the
Yeah.
same
Can you-
meeting? I
Yes,
don't even
yes, we
know.
can. Yep.
Okay, good. My microphone kind of had a glitch. The only thing, programming is going very well. All of our nutrition programs are very successful. They're growing. And the 30th anniversary, I wanted to send out an email to the Elder Affairs Commission just to see if anybody would like to volunteer at the event and, have a role and possibly have an exhibitor table just to share a little bit about the commission. And we have the marketing grant that finished. So we have the new brochures to show you all as well. So I'll send out an email. Not right now because I have to pick up my daughter, but in the morning I'll send out an email about availability and who's interested and what you can do.
And this is for next Wednesday, right, Em?
Yes,
That you're
ma'am.
looking for? Yeah, okay.
What time does that,
Okay.
Emily, what time does that start? I know you had told me at one, I saw the brochure at one point, but I just wanted to write it down so I make sure I was there.
The Wednesday, July 20th at 10 a.m. We
10.
hope to start on time, but you never know. So there's a 45-minute speaker's presentation, and we have we'll be acknowledging someone at that event. Actually, we'll be acknowledging Kathy Hayes for her 26 years of
Yeah.
service.
Okay.
Don't tell her.
That's wonderful.
Don't tell her.
Oh, that's nice.
And then we have, once the speaking program ends, we'll have folks walk around and look at the exhibitors' tables. I think we have 16 tables, which is great representation from the community. And then we have kind of like an open house flow where people can go have a little bistro snack. And then at noon, we have I think it'll be box lunches inside the building, as well as we'll set up outdoor seating under the tent. So people can, whoever's inclined to eat out in the heat, that's great. But also maybe feel a little bit more comfortable eating out in public, which is one of our barriers. And then at 1 o'clock, we have an outdoor concert. And that'll go until probably 2:30, 3 o'clock. It's a full day of fun activities to celebrate. And people are excited.
Sounds great.
Where's the lunch is coming from?
Sodexo, the university.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So it looks like we just want to set the next meeting. And before I do that, I just want to thank everyone for their input today. We had a lot of opinions, a lot of varying opinions, but it's kind of good that we can all get along and make a mutual decision. So I think we got a lot accomplished today. The next meeting looks like it's scheduled for August 8th at 2 p.m. Before we adjourn, is there anything anyone would like to add?
Are we going to be having any meetings inside at the senior center?
I believe so in August, but I said that in June about July. So I don't know. They decide on this at a month-to-month basis. I know there's a piece of legislation that was passed through the House that they want to make all commission, any public meetings hybrid format, which is a good thing, in my opinion, because you can allow for more input from the public. But I don't know yet.
Okay.
Okay.
I hope.
So again, we'll meet again on August 8th, 2 o'clock. We'll find out if it's Zoom or in person. It would be great. If there's no more questions, I would guess it would be a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
Second.
I make the motion.
I'll third it. Okay. Well, thank you all for your time and have a great rest of the day, everyone. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.